So after we moved into the home, Steve walked us through, obviously, the initial inspection. He has come through time and time again. For example, our movers moved in, and typical movers, they made some damages to the home. As the builder, he didn't have to cover it, but he did. And he covered damages to the floor, damages to the walls, all kinds of things that I wouldn't have expected him to do, but he did it. And he had that allotted into his budget, I think, or he's just because he's such a great guy that he did it on his own. Whenever I have any issues whatsoever, my first phone call is to Steve. And it's usually, he drops everything he's doing, and it's resolved within a matter of days. Construction is not my background, but I brought in folks that took a look at our home, and at every step of the process, they all came back and told me the same thing. Said, you know, this house is over-engineered. He could have gone with cheaper, less expensive products, whether it was lumber or structural or floors. I have many examples of that, but he chose not to. And I think he did that because his name is on the wall of that house, and he's very proud of that. So one thing that I would like to share is that Steve, as an independent builder, is very custom-oriented builder for the homeowner that he's designing and building the home for. And what I mean by that is, let me give you an example of what I mean by that. Is I had an idea that at the last minute, I'd like to have a wine room. This was after the house was just about finished. I told Steve that, and he kind of looked at me for a second. And I probably spent about 15 minutes going through, well, we could do this and we could do this. And as a true Southern gentleman, he let me finish my entire tirade about this is what I'd like to do and here's how we could do it. And he said, or we could just build you one up in the attic. And so he figured it out. He built us this incredible wine room, had it completely framed in. After the house sold, he came back, and on my schedule, we then went through the steps with getting it completely insulated, and he had it completely framed for me. Then we put the drywall up, the flooring, and every step of the way. And today I have a fully functional wine room that's pretty large, and it holds approximately 1,200 bottles of wine. I'll tell you that another example of how much attention to detail that Steve gives to his projects is not just my experience with him, but the fact that my house was being built in an area that was already developed. And all my neighbors came to us as when we moved in and told us that they saw Steve at the house every single day, doing things that they hadn't seen any of their builders and only wished that their builders had done. And one example of that is it had started to rain. And Steve had said that you could always see there was a line. You could see that everywhere you went around the houses of brick homes where water had come in, splattered on the ground, and then bounced back onto the brick, and it makes a stain. Well, Steve, every time it rained, was at the home and made sure he took straw out and put it all the way around the house. And that protected our home from water damage and from that stain that you can't get off after it gets on there. So I take my recommendations very seriously, and I do not recommend many people for anything. But I will tell you that I would easily, any time, recommend Steve. You do not have to worry about someone skipping corners or cutting corners to have a quality product.